think there's a lot of, I suppose, rhetoric and sort of inaction associated with this idea of social inclusion, isn't it? I mean, people have signed up to it on principle, but actually real action to actually address it has been a bit short of the mark. In one way, it's how do we, make a very complex modern society which has got a lot of high-tech and fast-moving sort of aspects to it. How do we hang on to the things that anchored us in the past, the sort of more traditional, connections in communities and the social cohesion that comes out of all sorts of things, sport, the arts, I suppose common purpose, a more sort of European sort of approach, I would say, traditional societies. How do we hang on to the good things but still remain agile and creative as we move forward? And it's a very complex challenge actually. And but everywhere we look, we see breakdown, social breakdown, and particularly in the outer suburbs of Melbourne and Sydney. That's where I've seen it the most. Young people growing up in futile sort of surroundings, to be quite honest. No sense of purpose, a lot of materialism. With the families are under tremendous pressure, lots of flux in how families are composed even. All of these problems are very apparent, but not much political will really, or clear solutions. We need to work on it much more strongly. Well, that's one of the encouraging things about Australia, that there's tremendous, everywhere you look, there's this great sense of volunteering and giving back, and so many Australians actually are doing this, what we're talking about. Maybe I've been a bit too negative in some ways, but if we could strengthen that and make that a much bigger part of our culture. It has been in the past, especially in times of adversity. People have stuck together, and maybe now that we're more comfortable, we were one of the richest countries in the world. We've managed to escape the worst ravages of the GFC. We're in pretty good shape, but paradoxically that might have made us a little bit more selfish and perhaps inhibited some of this traditional Australian sort of sticking together, supporting and including each other and looking after each other in a better way. But we do see that everywhere, but it would be great to see it even stronger.